My name is Tom Bradshaw, and I've lived next door to Michael Chen for 23 years. If you told me back in 2002, when he and Linda first moved into that colonial with the blue shutters, that I'd be the one to watch his entire life unravel because of a secret bank account in the Cayman Islands, I'd have called you a liar. But what he did next, I never thought my quiet neighbor had it in him, and the whole town found out at the Riverside Community Center's annual charity gala. I long-haul trucker, been on the road most of my adult life, but when I'm home, I'm home. My kitchen window faces Michael's driveway, and over 2 decades you see things. You see a young couple moving in with dreams in their eyes. You see kids being born, birthday parties in the backyard, Christmas lights going up every December like clockwork. You see a marriage that everyone in the neighborhood pointed to and said, "Now that's how it's done." Michael was 58 when this all went down. A quality control inspector at the Boeing plant 40 minutes north. Steady work, union benefits, pension building, not flashy but solid. The kind of man who'd help you change your transmission on a Saturday without being asked, who'd clear snow from your driveway when you were laid up with the flu. We'd go fishing at Lake Washington every other Sunday during salmon season, just the two of us, thermoses of coffee and not much talking.
That's how men like us communicate. In comfortable silences and the occasional grunt of approval when one of us lands a decent catch. Linda was 55, worked as an office manager at a dental practice downtown. Always put together, always pleasant when you'd see her getting the mail or tending to her roses along the fence line. She'd wave, ask about my daughter in Spokane, remember little details that made you feel like you mattered. Their daughter Jessica had graduated from University of Washington 6 years prior, moved to Portland for some tech job. Their son David was finishing his residency in Chicago. Empty nesters living the dream they'd worked 35 years to achieve. From my kitchen window, their life looked like a Norman Rockwell painting. Date nights every Friday, I'd see them leave around 6:30. Linda in a dress, Michael in the sport coat he saved for occasions. Saturday mornings, they'd work in the yard together, her pruning, him mulching. Sunday evenings, lights on in their living room, probably watching whatever drama Linda liked on PBS. I didn't see the cracks forming, not at first. It started small, probably around March of last year. I was home for a 2-week stretch, and I noticed Michael was in his garage more than usual. Not working on projects, just sitting. I'd take my trash out at dusk, and I'd see him there in his lawn chair, beer in hand, staring at nothing.
When you've known a man for over 20 years, you can tell when something's gnawing at him. One evening in early April, I was replacing the floodlight on my back porch when I heard raised voices. Not shouting, but that tense, clipped tone that's somehow worse. Their bedroom window was open, unusual for Linda, who liked her privacy, and I caught fragments. Always questioning me. That was Linda. Just asking where you were. Michael, quieter, measured. Oh, trust me, after all these years. The window shut. I finished my work and went inside, but something sat wrong in my gut. In 23 years, I'd maybe heard them argue twice, and both times it was about something practical, like whether to replace the roof or wait another year. 2 weeks later, I was pulling into my driveway after a run to Sacramento when I saw a silver Lexus I didn't recognize parked in front of Michael's house. Not in the driveway, but on the street, like someone was trying to be inconspicuous but not trying too hard. It was a Tuesday afternoon, around 3. Michael would still be at work. Linda's Honda was in the driveway. I went inside, put away my groceries, and tried not to think about it. Not my business. But when I glanced out my kitchen window an hour later, the Lexus was still there. And as I watched, a man in his 40s, fit, wearing expensive-looking casual clothes, walked out of Michael's front door.
Linda stood in the doorway, arms crossed, but not the body language of goodbye to a repairman or salesman, something familiar in how they stood. The man got in the Lexus and drove off. Linda closed the door. I told myself it could be anything, her boss, a friend's husband, someone from church. But I'm not stupid, and I wasn't born yesterday. May came, and Michael asked if I wanted to grab a beer in my garage. We'd converted it into what my wife used to call a man cave before she passed. Mini fridge, old couch, workbench, radio that only got AM stations. It was a Saturday afternoon, warm enough to have the door open to the driveway. He sat on the couch, beer unopened in his hand, just rolling the can between his palms. I gave him space, pretended to organize my toolbox. "Tom," he said finally, "can I ask you something?" "Shoot." "If Karen was alive," he paused, cleared his throat. My wife had died 8 years back, cancer. "If she'd started acting different, would you have said something? To yourself, I mean. Would you have admitted it?" I set down the socket wrench I was holding. "Different how?" "Secretive, protective of her phone, going out more than usual, but vague about where." He was staring at the concrete floor of my garage. "Would you have trusted your gut, or would you have told yourself you were being paranoid?" I sat down on the workbench stool, looked at him square. "I'd trust my gut."
And then I'd trust her to tell me the truth if I asked directly. He nodded slowly, took a sip of beer. I asked, "And?" She said I was being ridiculous, said menopause is making her moody, and I'm being controlling. He looked up at me then, and I saw something I'd never seen in Michael's face before. Defeat. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm just some old guy who can't handle his wife having her own life now that the kids are gone. Or maybe your gut's trying to tell you something. We sat in silence for a while. On the radio, some talk show host was ranting about property taxes. "Keep your eyes open," I said finally. "Don't go looking for trouble, but don't ignore what's right in front of you either." He finished his beer, crushed the can, tossed it in my recycling bin. "Thanks for the talk." "Anytime." After he left, I sat in that garage until the sun went down, feeling a weight I couldn't name. June got interesting. I was home for just 3 days between runs, and I happened to be awake early on a Wednesday morning, around 5:30, making coffee before a doctor's appointment. Through my kitchen window, I saw Linda's Honda pull into their driveway. She got out, wearing the same clothes I'd seen her in the previous afternoon, looking rumpled and tired. She didn't come home last night.
I was sure of it, because Michael had sat on his front porch until nearly midnight, and her car hadn't been there. When Michael's truck pulled out of the driveway at 7:15, same as every workday, I saw his face, stone, expressionless, like he'd made a decision about something. That evening, I saw him through his garage window. He had file boxes, the kind you get from office supply stores, and he was methodically going through papers. I watched him for maybe 10 minutes. He'd look at a document, make a note in a small spiral notebook, put the document in a specific pile. Every movement careful, deliberate. He wasn't angry. He was collecting. I got called out for a run to Denver the next morning. Wouldn't be back for 8 days. But before I left, I knocked on his door. He answered in jeans and a Boeing t-shirt, looking tired. "Need anything while I'm gone?" I asked. "Want me to watch the house?" "No, Tom, but thanks." He glanced back into his house, then stepped onto the porch, closing the door behind him. "Actually, if anyone asks where I was last Tuesday evening, around 7, can you say I was helping you fix your water heater?" I studied him. Was there a problem with my water heater last Tuesday? There could have been. His eyes met mine. "I'm not doing anything illegal. I need people to know I was doing regular, normal things. You were helping me fix my water heater," I said. "Took us about 2 hours."
"You're a hell of a plumber for an inspector." He gripped my shoulder, squeezed once. "Good man." When I got back from Denver, Michael's truck was in the driveway, but something felt different. I couldn't put my finger on it immediately, but then I realized Linda's Honda was gone. Not just out running errands, but gone. No car, and when I looked closer, her roses hadn't been watered. The ones she babied like grandchildren were wilting in the July heat. I found Michael in his garage that evening, but this time he was just sitting, staring at a manila folder on his workbench. He heard my footsteps and looked up. "Beer?" he offered, nodding to his mini fridge. I grabbed 2, handed him one, leaned against the doorframe. "Where's Linda?" "Paris." He said it flat, no emotion. "Vacation?" "Something like that." He opened the folder, turned it so I could see. Bank statements. Lots of them. "Did you know that Linda opened a separate bank account 4 years ago?" I didn't answer. Wasn't a question that needed answering. "She told me it was for our future. Said she was putting aside money from her bonuses, maybe some overtime, so we could do a big trip when I retired. Europe, the places we'd always talked about but never had the money for." He flipped through the statements. "Noble, right? Thoughtful wife,
planning ahead. But, I prompted, but I got curious last month, started looking at credit card statements more carefully. She's been taking cash advances.
Small amounts, 300 here, 500 there, always just under the threshold that would flag anything. He pulled out another sheet. And 2 months ago, I found a receipt sheet dropped. Business class ticket to Paris. Just one ticket. Departure date was last week. Shit, I said quietly. I hired a forensic accountant, guy my union rep recommended for a different situation, but he does private work. Michael's voice was still flat, clinical. Turns out Linda's been withdrawing money from this future fund she set up. $37,000 over 2 years. Wire transfers to a hotel in Paris. Same hotel. Same dates. Every 3 months like clockwork. He pulled out photos. I didn't want to look, but I did. Security camera footage. Grainy but clear enough. Linda and the guy from the Lexus, checking into a hotel. Different photos, different outfits, but always the same hotel. Always the same man. His name is Garrett Hammond, Michael continued. 52, divorced, owns 3 car dealerships in Seattle. Met Linda when she brought her Honda in for service 2 years ago. He smiled, but it wasn't a pleasant expression. Apparently, he's been wooing her with promises of a bigger life, more travel, more excitement, less Boeing pension and more yacht clubs. Jesus, Michael. The account she set up? It's actually in both their names. She gave him signing authority 6 months ago. He closed the folder. They're in Paris right now.
She told me she was going to a dental management conference in San Francisco. I found the real conference. It ended 4 days ago. She's been in Paris for a week. I didn't know what to say. In 40 years of living, I'd seen plenty of marriages fall apart, but not like this, not with this kind of cold, calculated betrayal. "What are you going to do?" I asked. He looked at me, and for the first time I saw something other than hurt in his face. I saw resolve. "I'm going to let her finish her vacation," he said, "and then I'm going to let her explain herself in front of everyone." Michael. "The community center gala is in 3 weeks," he continued. "Linda's been on the planning committee for 5 years. She's organized the whole thing. Everyone we know will be there. Everyone who thinks we're the perfect couple, who holds us up as an example." He stood up, grabbed a different folder from his workbench. "I've already spoken to a lawyer, filed for divorce yesterday, but the papers won't be served until after the gala." "Why wait?" "Because I want her to feel safe," he said simply. "I want her to come home from Paris, happy and relaxed and confident that her stupid husband doesn't suspect a thing. I want her to get up on that stage at the gala and give her little speech about community and togetherness, and then I want to hand her the microphone." The next 2 weeks were the strangest I'd ever experienced on our street.
Linda came home from San Francisco with a tan and new luggage, posting photos on Facebook about the wonderful conference she'd attended. She was out in the yard again, watering her roses, waving to me when I got my mail. Michael went to work every day, came home, had dinner. On the surface, everything was normal. But I'd see him some evenings in his garage, going through his folders, making notes. He met with his lawyer twice that I know of, and once I saw him put a small digital recorder in his jacket pocket before Linda came home from work. "Getting it all documented," he told me when I asked. Conversations, dates, times, everything. The Friday before the gala, Linda knocked on my door. She was holding a plate of cookies, her smile bright and friendly. "Tom, I wanted to make sure you're coming to the gala tomorrow night," she said. "Michael's been so stressed with work, and I think it would be good for him to have his friends there." I took the cookies, forced a smile. Wouldn't miss it. "Wonderful. It's going to be such a lovely evening. We've been planning it for months." She touched my arm. "And thank you for being such a good friend to Michael. He really values your friendship." After she left, I threw the cookies in the trash. Couldn't stomach them. The Riverside Community Center was packed that Saturday evening. The planning committee had outdone themselves. String lights, linen tablecloths, a decent band playing jazz standards. It was a fundraiser for the local youth sports programs, and everyone who was anyone in our little community was there. Maybe 200 people, all dressed up, drinking wine from the no-host bar,
bidding on silent auction items. I sat at a table near the back with some of the guys from the VFW. Michael and Linda sat at a front table with the other planning committee members. From where I was, I could see them clearly. Linda looked radiant in a navy dress, laughing at something someone said. Michael wore a suit I'd never seen before, and he was calm, too calm. Around 8 o'clock, Linda took the stage. She thanked everyone for coming, talked about the importance of youth sports, made a joke about her terrible golf swing that got polite laughter. She was good at this, poised, confident, likable. Everyone in the room loved her. "Before we announce the silent auction winners," she said into the microphone, "I just want to say how grateful I am for this community. For 35 years, my husband and I have built our life here, raised our children here, and made memories that will last forever. You've all been part of that, and I'm so thankful." She looked down at Michael, smiled that warm smile I'd seen 1,000 times. "Michael, honey, do you want to come up and say a few words?" The room applauded as Michael stood and walked to the stage. He kissed Linda's cheek. She beamed and took the microphone from her hand.
She started to step aside, but he gently held her elbow, kept her next to him. "Thank you all for being here," Michael began. His voice was steady, conversational. "Linda's right. We've built a wonderful life in this community. I've worked at Boeing for 32 years, provided a good home, put 2 kids through college. We've been members of this community center since 1998. We've attended these galas every single year." People were smiling, nodding. Linda was still beaming, though I saw her try to step away again. Michael held firm. "I believe in honesty," Michael continued. "I believe in keeping your word. I believe that when you make vows to someone, you honor them. That's how I was raised." He paused. "So I wanted to be honest with all of you tonight about something important." The room got quieter. Linda's smile faltered. "Linda, honey, could you tell everyone where you were last week? The conference in San Francisco, right?" She nodded, confused now. "Yes, the dental management conference." "That conference ended on July 10th, Michael said, according to their website, but you didn't come home until July 17th. So where were you for those extra 7 days? The room was dead silent now. You could hear the ice machine from the bar area humming. Linda's face went pale. I did some sightseeing. I told you that." "In San Francisco?" Michael pulled a piece of paper from his jacket pocket.
"Because I have a credit card statement here showing charges at the Hotel Plaza Athénée in Paris. 7 nights, $4,200. Someone gasped, I'm not sure who. Linda grabbed for the paper, but Michael held it up. "And I have bank statements showing $37,000 withdrawn from a joint account you opened with Garrett Hammond. Everyone, Garrett owns Hammond Auto Group. Nice guy, I hear. Divorced. Likes European vacations." The room erupted in whispers. Linda was shaking her head, reaching for the microphone. "Michael, stop it. Stop it right now. You're embarrassing yourself." "I'm embarrassing myself?" He laughed, but it was bitter. "I hired a forensic accountant, Linda. I have 2 years of documentation. Hotels, flights, cash transfers. I have photos of you checking into hotels with him. I have text messages. Did you know our phone plan keeps records? I can get transcripts if I subpoena them." He reached into his jacket again, pulled out more papers. "I filed for divorce 6 days ago. These papers are being served to you Monday morning, but I figured why wait to share the news? You wanted everyone here tonight. You wanted to stand on this stage and talk about community and family. So let's talk about it." Linda stumbled backward. Someone from her table stood up, started toward the stage. Michael held up a hand. "One more thing. That future fund you told me was for our retirement trip? I have documentation that you gave Garrett signing authority."
That means half of what you stole was legally his to withdraw. He looked directly at her. "You didn't just betray me. You stole from our future, from the life I worked 32 years to build." He set the microphone down on its stand, producing a loud pop through the speakers. The room was chaos now, people talking, gasping, some standing up to leave, others leaning in to hear more. Linda stood frozen on the stage, tears streaming down her face, looking at the crowd like she was drowning. Michael walked off the stage and headed straight for the exit. As he passed my table, he caught my eye and gave the smallest nod. I nodded back. I found him in the parking lot 20 minutes later, sitting in his truck with the windows down, tie loosened. "You okay?" I asked.
"Not yet," he said. "But I will be." That was brutal. It needed to be public. He looked back at the community center. She humiliated me privately for 2 years, lied to my face, stole from our accounts, made me look like a fool while she played happy wife and pillar of the community. I wanted her to know what that feels like. I couldn't argue with him. The fallout was immediate and widespread. By Sunday morning, everyone on our street knew. By Monday, everyone in our neighborhood knew. Linda moved out that week. I watched from my kitchen window as she loaded boxes into her Honda, mascara streaked down her face, while her sister helped. She didn't look at Michael's house once. Michael's daughter Jessica flew in from Portland, stayed for a week. His son David called every night. They rallied around him, angry and heartbroken on his behalf. The divorce went through faster than I expected. Linda didn't contest much. I think she knew she couldn't, not with the documentation Michael had. The forensic accountant's report was apparently damning. She had to pay back the $37,000, plus legal fees. The house went to Michael. Retirement accounts were divided, but not favorably for her. Last I heard, she moved to Tacoma, got a job at a different dental practice. Garrett Hammond broke things off with her a month after the gala. Apparently being publicly exposed as the other man wasn't great for business. His ex-wife bought out his share of one of the dealerships in the divorce settlement, and he moved to California. Michael still lives next door. He's quieter now, but not broken. He retired from Boeing last fall, took his full pension. Jessica visits once a month. David comes home for holidays. On Sunday mornings, I see Michael loading his fishing gear into his truck, heading to the lake alone. Sometimes I go with him. We don't talk much about it anymore. What's there to say? But one evening a few months back, we were in my garage, radio on, beers in hand, and he said something I've thought about ever since. You know what the worst part was? It wasn't the affair.
It wasn't even the money. He was staring at his beer can. It was that she made me doubt myself, made me feel crazy for noticing, made me feel like I was the problem. You weren't the problem, I said. I know that now. He looked up at me. But for a while there, I really believed her. I thought I was losing my mind. That's what betrayal does, I think. It makes you question your own reality, makes you feel like you're standing on sand when you thought you were on solid ground. Michael taught me something, though. He taught me that the quiet men in this world, the ones who show up every day, do their jobs, take care of their families without fanfare, those men have a strength that's easy to underestimate. Linda underestimated him. Garrett Hammond underestimated him. Hell, maybe even I underestimated him. But when pushed, when betrayed, when forced to defend what was rightfully his, Michael didn't explode. He didn't rage or make threats. He documented. He gathered evidence. He built an airtight case, and then he executed it with surgical precision. Some people called it revenge. Maybe it was. But from where I stood, it looked more like justice. I still live next door. I still see Michael most days, getting his mail, working in his yard, leaving for his morning walks. His roses are doing better than Linda's ever did, which I find oddly satisfying. He's dating someone new, a widow from church. They go to dinner on Friday nights. She seems kind. Last week we were both out in our driveways, him washing his truck, me replacing my mailbox post. A young couple was looking at the house 3 doors down, the one with the for sale sign. New neighbors soon, I called over. Michael looked up, squinted at them. Yep, hope they're good people. Most people are, I said. He smiled a little. Most people are, until they're not. That's the truth of it, isn't it? We want to believe the best in people. We want to trust that the person we married, the life we built, the future we planned, that it's all real and solid and true. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a careful illusion, and you are the only one who doesn't know you're living in it. If you're reading this, if you're watching this, maybe you've been where Michael was. Maybe you felt that creeping doubt, that sense that something's off, but everyone keeps telling you you're imagining it. Maybe you've been me, watching from the sidelines, seeing something you wish you didn't see. Trust your gut, document everything, and know that you're not crazy, you're not paranoid, and you're not alone. It taught me something about the quiet men in this world, and the quiet women too, for that matter. The ones who don't make a lot of noise, who don't draw attention to themselves, who just steadily build their lives one day at a time. When those people decide they've had enough, when they finally stand up and say no more, it's not dramatic. It's not explosive.
It's just final. If you've seen something similar on your street, in your neighborhood, in your life, you're not alone. Share this story with one friend who gets it, with one person who needs to know that sometimes the quietest people fight the loudest battles, and sometimes justice is just someone finally telling the truth. Michael's still my neighbor, still my friend, and every time I see him working in his yard, I'm reminded that dignity isn't about never being knocked down. It's about how you stand back up. And brother, did he stand up. The last time we went fishing, just 2 weeks ago, he caught a 12-pound king salmon. As he was reeling it in, he looked over at me and said, "You know what, Tom? I'm okay. I'm actually okay." And I believed him.